Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's podcast, Global Citizen Life. And on the show today, we have Sonja. Sonja has recently moved from Germany into Paraguay. She just arrived in Paraguay less than a year ago. So it'll be really interesting to see how her journey came about, everything that's been going on for her. And it's so fresh in her mind. She hasn't even been there for a year yet. So I'm sure she has lots of new experiences, lots of things going on. So super excited to talk with her today. And for those of you who haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on Instagram, YouTube, everywhere else. We're all over social media, Global Citizen Life. So check us out. There's different bits of information on some of the different sites. So definitely do that. But without further ado, let's talk with Sonja and find out about her story and her journey. Well, welcome to today's show, everybody. I'm glad to have Sonja with us today. So thank you, Sonja, for joining us.
Thanks for the invitation, and happy to join.
Great. And so, Sonja, you've just recently relocated to Paraguay. So can you share with our listeners your journey and what's kind of brought you from Paraguay and where you came from and how everything came about for you?
Yes, of course, happily. As you can probably hear from my accent, I'm not a native speaker of English, although I think I learned since I was 10. So it's in the meantime, it's quite a while. So I'm German and I moved here in December 21. So it's not yet a full year now. I say now, if it would have been a pregnancy, now the child would have been born. So this is sometimes where I do the comparison. And funny enough, it's my husband and I, we took a decision already in 2018. So there were several things coming together, ideas and some incidents where we said they put us into a kind of thinking mode. And so that we started asking ourselves, do we really want to go on like this until we will be pensioners, or will we too old to travel, or too old, I don't know what. And we said, no, let's do something different. And so we were starting our journey to be independent, and with the help of trading, of option trading at stock, with stock options. And so we started to be quite successful in there. And then we took a real huge decision, and we decided to sell our house in order to get more funds and have this put into our activities. And then what you can imagine, there was 2020 with the stock market going down, and we were really fearing if the fruits of the working of our life so far would go away and fund somewhere else. But finally it turned out to be well. And we wanted to apply for the papers already in April 2020. So what happened in April 2020, we all know it was the big C topic, beginning with even lockdowns here in Paraguay. And we canceled the journey the day before it would have started, because there was a lockdown exactly in the week predicted for the week we wanted to travel. So it would have led us to nowhere, so to say. But we continued our preparation. So started already sorting our stuff, what we say, what we need, what we offer, what we were going to sell. We moved into a small flat. And at the time I was working in Paris at the moment. And so my husband and I, we had several flats. And in the meantime, and when I came back on the weekends or from Paris, so we shared a a 2-room flat with 50 square meters, which was just a bedroom and a living room and a small kitchen. And all the other furniture and everything I had a little bit in Paris, and all the other things were in stock. So we really moved out of the house from really almost 180 square meters to 55 square meters.
That must have been an adjustment within itself, just downsizing that much.
Yeah.
And not knowing how long you were going to be there, because during lockdown, nobody knew how long it was. Like I was in Spain during the lockdown, and first they're like, oh, it's 2 weeks, and then 2 more weeks, and then 2 more weeks. And, and it was just always more. And so you would have been there and not knowing how long this lockdown was going to last.
Yeah, exactly. And so we canceled this one. And my contract in Paris had finished just before the lockdown. So I had every stuff, all my things, and I just had put it into the house of my parents. And so we were sitting on the balcony, and the weather was quite nice and at the time being. So we were not really much concerned, because I was quite exhausted from the different activities and from moving from Paris I was a bit glad to have a rest. Okay, I was sad that we will not be able to travel to Paraguay, but I never thought that it would, lead to the situation we are currently living in. So finally, we were able to postpone this, and we then traveled to Paraguay in April 21, which was already, we said, okay, 1 year later. And then as Paraguay refused to go into any other lockdowns, which I thought was a good, for me, was a good sign, so to say, because people, we need to know that people they don't have a fridge, and a lot of people, they're just being paid by day. And so for every day in a lockdown, they don't have money, they can't eat. They can't get their supplies, and they can't even cool the fresh supplies like milk or anything else. So, and there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of dispensers at each corner where people just buy the supply of the day, and then that's it, so to say. And this is why they just refused to stay in lockdown, because they couldn't afford it any longer. And I guess this was one of the reasons why I said, oh yeah, they are fighting, and they're fighting for their rights. And so, finally, so we then got the information that our papers would be ready in August, or somewhere in July. And then we said, okay, let's book a flight. Initially, we wanted to go, as we had a contract with our flat that lasted until that would terminate end of this year, so end of 22. Our first idea was to move in December 22, but with the situation in Germany becoming much and more difficult for me, especially from a psychological point of view, I said no. And then we said, okay, we prepone everything and accelerate everything and start a year earlier. So then we got a container, we got our flights booked, and the container, I really remember, it was mid of October. In the morning, a lot of people came, and so they packed everything. So we decided for the luxury variation and said, okay, we spend a bit more of money, but we are tranquilo, and we are quiet and peaceful. So people come, wrap everything, and then put it into the container. So we had a small container, a 22-foot container, and it was really funny. So I remember really when they closed the container in front of the house and moved away with the lorry, and I said, everything, my memories, my everything is in there. It was a strange feeling.
It's like, there goes my whole life. Let's hope it arrives on time, all in one piece. I eventually get it back, because that's my everything.
It's my everything, exactly. So because we wanted to, so we had bought in April, we had bought the apartment we are currently living in the big area of Asuncion. We said we just put everything into the new apartment, and then we see, because we want to travel, we still want to travel, and we wanted to be able, although I'm really a fan of gardening and everything, but we wanted to have an area where it's quiet and safe, and where I can just turn the key and leave it for 2 or 3 months and come back and be sure that everything is still there. And so this is what we decided for. And I think there's all other variation, all other combinations. That I know a lot of people who gave away everything before coming here and starting again. Every decision is fine. We decided the other way around. We say, okay, I wanted my stuff, and many books, as you can see. Yeah, you can't see it here, but here is a big bookshelf next to me. And I didn't want to get rid of all those books. I already gave away a lot of books, so I didn't come with any book. But now with those, these are dear to me. So
right, and that works, because there is no, and I say it to everybody, whether it's the relocating, the questions that I'm asked all the time. You know, what should I do for this, or what should I do for that? And I always say, well, I don't know. Like, because I don't know you, I don't know what's important for you. And for some people it is, like you said, you know, you wanted things packed up, you wanted to bring those are special memories for different things, and you wanted to do that. I had spoke with a gentleman a few weeks ago, and him and his partner decided we're getting rid of everything, and they each had a backpack, and they had their dog, and they said, we're starting completely over. It's a fresh start, we're doing everything, and it worked for them. And so it depends where you're going and what you want. So I've moved, I'm in like my 4th country now. And every time I get rid of tons, but I've never completely started over. I've started with, I think the smallest was 2. When I first moved to Costa Rica, I had already had my place there, my house. And I'd already had a bunch of stuff, but I did end up bringing, initially, my daughter had 2 suitcases and I had 2 suitcases. But then every time somebody came to visit, they always brought an extra suitcase or 2 with them. And so we slowly brought things that way. But yeah, I've gotten rid of lots of stuff, but every time I've moved, there's always been some things I just want to bring with me, because they're my certain things, and they're meaningful to me, and I love them and want them, and I want them.
Yeah, this is what if people ask me as well and say, how shall we do this? I say, it's up to you. It's what is your inner feeling, and trust your heart and your guts, and what you know, and please don't let other people advise on your life. And this is what I recommend and say, if you want to start completely new, but then I would recommend leave a few things perhaps in a bag or in a box in Germany or whatever country from your home country. It might be that perhaps 1 year later, or even 2 years later, you would say, oh, I would miss this and this and this. And I must admit that even, you know, I didn't know that Paraguayan winters could be quite that harsh. And I think this winter is really extreme. So more or less we have an alternation of temperatures, sometimes between 15 degrees one day, and 2 days later it's more than 30 degrees. So it's an up and down all the time.
Okay, I didn't know that either.
And people told me, yes, it's really one of the longest winters as they can remember. And we are happy that we brought even our woolen socks and warm, you know, duvets and everything for bedding and everything. So I'm quite happy, and even that I have my woolen jumpers and everything, because I really love warmth and heat, and if it's cold, then I don't feel comfortable. Yes, and of course you can buy furniture and everything over here, but I didn't want to spend so much time to, you know, move around, find something, decide for something, and so on. I just wanted to put everything in here and then be quiet and fine. But as I said, everyone is individual and should take his individual decisions. And a lot of things I see it, I sometimes read it in the expat group where I'm participating in Facebook. You say, oh, I wish I had brought this and this and this, or I would have still have this and this and that. And so sometimes perhaps to give people an idea. So read this through, go into those type of groups, ask the questions, or search for keywords, and then decide for yourself what is important to you. I think I don't want to be somebody else, somebody without, having my roots somehow.
Right.
But it's, of course, and removal is a good point to get rid of a lot of things where you say, oh, it's causing me negative energy, or it's taking energy from me. But if it's something which is really dear for me, and I have here in front of me a picture which a friend of mine gave me from Ireland. I could have given it away, yes, but I remember when looking at this picture, I remember the wonderful, beautiful stay where they came over from Ireland. We spent a really superb weekend in the area of Frankfurt where we lived before. And so, yeah, why should I cut me off of these memories?
Right. And I don't think anybody should get rid of anything that truly brings good memory and joy to them. But if you want to, somebody says, I just want a clean start, and they're not into any type of collectibles or anything, then that's great. But I think you're right too. I mean, with a lot of expat groups and Facebook groups and things like that, if a person is moving somewhere and they haven't spent a lot of time there, because when we go somewhere and we say we're going to go on a scouting trip, or we're going to check it out, and they go for maybe 2 weeks, lots of times it's like everything's wonderful for 2 weeks, but we're not thinking of the type of kitchen items that we like to use. Can we replace them easily or not? Or, furniture, yes, but where are you going? What's the quality like? Is it good? Is it comfortable? So maybe you do want to bring your couch or your bed because your bed was hand carved, made somewhere. If it's just an IKEA bed, probably don't need to bring an IKEA bed because IKEA is almost everywhere, or similar type.
Unfortunately, things, not in Paraguay.
No IKEA there. But there's that, but not such expensive furniture and shops like there's, and that's part of kind of that thinking, or joining the groups. And it's a great thing to, if you get in a group, is I'm thinking about relocating. What do you wish that you would have brought with you? Or what are you so grateful for that you're like, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, and you brought it and you're just so happy that you did.
Yeah, as I said, warm clothes and warm bedding is something I'm really happy that I brought it. If somebody doesn't need so much warmth like I do, then it's completely fine. Or I would, everything like sockets and plug-ins, adapters for everything what you need for computer and everything is another special thing. I didn't know it would have not been necessary that I bring a lot of kitchen items, because these are, I didn't think and I didn't expect that, even accessories for baking and preparing and everything. This is easily, you get it here easily. I didn't think of this one, but I'm quite happy that I brought my Thermomix as an example.
Right. And so sometimes it's things that we don't think about, and it is those little easy simple things. Like I have some things that I have brought with me now to 4 different countries. They have moved around the world with me, and yeah, it costs me more, but there's some things that I haven't seen anywhere else. So I'm okay that I'm spending the money to bring it with me. Or as I said before, what I've been able to do is pack things into different extra suitcases and stuff and leave them. And then whenever somebody comes to visit, my only thing is, if you come visit, you're more than welcome to stay, but I need you to bring one suitcase, one box, one something. And of course, everybody's more than happy to bring that one thing.
Yeah, this is exactly what I said. I would recommend to say, put something in a box and then decide whether you want it to be brought or just left it where it is, and then you can give it to charity, or when you say no, I really don't need it, yeah, then that's completely fine. But I'm happy, as an example, that I brought my printer, because if you need to have a copy of anything, and you need it quite often, you need to go to a shop and pay 2,000 guaranis, which is not much, but at least you must go there, and then you must go to everywhere, somewhere else. So it's quite convenient. And then have the cartouches with the ink and everything, at least one spare part here as well. But apart from this, and yeah, to make a long story short, story short is that our container arrived even a week before us. It was the quickest ever. The shipment supply, the shipment company I worked with, and we had really somebody really great. So if somebody would be interested, just drop me a note and I do a recommendation. It's a German company. And we had a contact person. She was really amazing. So she was there all the time. And whenever we had a question, or she was thinking even 2 steps ahead. And
that's nice.
That was really great. Yeah, and then so yeah, we found out that our apartment on one hand was ready, but the day when we arrived, we had announced it, and we came with 3 suitcases. So yeah, the last stuff which still was in still in the apartment, and then we found out, oh no, we still need another boxes, and later on it was another suitcase which came by another transport and another box, but then everything was here. And then we found out, oh no, it's in this area there are still 2 other houses being constructed, and although our apartment and the house with our apartment in it was ready, but there was no connection to the electricity network.
Oh no.
Yes. And so we moved into a flat not far away from here, but it meant that yes, the week later, when all our stuff arrived from the container, so it was the 23rd of December last year, so it was really a nice Christmas present. All the boxes stood here, and then in our apartment, our living room, and part of this in our bedroom. And yeah, and then slowly, gently, day by day after Christmas and the New Year, without any air conditioning, without anything, we started unpacking everything. And I remember my husband was one day he was alone here in the apartment, and I think I had interviews or something else in the other apartment, which is a distance of about 1.2 kilometers, which is a quarter of an hour to walk, or usually no worries. But what he didn't do, and it was really hot, because we then stepped into the 40 centigrade degrees
wow, that's hot.
It was really hot. It was one of the hottest summer ever. So we have one of the hottest summer ever, one of the longest and coldest winter ever. Okay,
so it's just going to get better. It's just going to get better from there, right? It just gets better.
It's getting better but now we are approaching springtime, so hopefully it will come soon. Then, and this is what I would recommend and take really a point out into. So here, especially in summer, it's you're not really aware of it. You should really make sure that you drink enough, and even start drinking water before getting thirsty. And so my husband didn't think about taking an Uber or a Bolt, because at the time being we didn't have a car yet. And so he was walking, I think it was 1 o'clock, really during the day. I think he had a hat, and he just came into the house, and he was like glowing, and I thought, oh my God. So the first thing I did was really put him on the bed, put sheets with cold water, which I had in the fridge over him to cool the body down, which is really dangerous at the time being. So this is where I would really point out, especially we coming from northern countries where you say
you're just not used to that kind of heat. They're just not used to that kind of heat.
Yeah, and you must really be careful that you don't mess around with your body as well. So
and when everything is so new too, like you think unpacking, okay, it's warm, you're inside, you're unpacking, then it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to walk. It's about a 40-minute walk, but because it's still so new, you know, that we think, oh, it's not that far because, you know, the buildings are still new, the streets are still new. We're kind of looking around as we're walking, but not realizing though it's still 45 minutes of being in that heat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's a good point. So it's and the heat in this case is to be mentioned, and the heat is coming from not only from above, from the
ground
the street and from the ground and everything. So it's really everywhere and around. And so but she finally there was no danger, no damage. But for this case, so really have ice cubes always in the freezer and make sure that cool down as quickly as possible. Yes. And then I could tell you stories about how to buy a car.
That would be a good one, actually, because I was going to ask. So with your place, are you renting or did you purchase?
No, we purchased it in April of 2021 when we first came. Yes.
When you first came, you started. So how, we'll talk about the car too. So how were your experiences that are different in Germany for purchasing a house and the car? And we'll talk about them both, but one at a time, compared to in Paraguay. So first you bought the house. That was the first one. So how was that? How did that work, and how was that different from in Germany?
So it was not really different from what you would expect from Germany. So you have a contract with the vendor, and you have usually you would go directly to a kind of notaire. I don't know the English word for it.
A notary.
A notary, yes. So we did this only, we went to the notary only when we came back, and then after we had taken the keys for the apartment. And so yes, what is important, and we are still waiting for what you need to have is a title for your property that entitles you to show that you really own it. And so as we are still in a construction area, and there's 5 lotes, as they are called, being put together. So the administration needs to put together the new owners and then subdivide it to other new owners again. And so this is a process which takes usually 3 to 6 years time, which we were told. So in this case, fingers crossed that everything runs smoothly with this one. But I'm quite confident, as we have somebody really reliable who sold us those apartments. And compared to buying a car, it was interesting that we paid in dollars, so not in guarani, but really we paid in dollars, which made payments for us a bit easier, as we have a bank account with Wise, where you can transfer dollars, which is quite easy. And there's, in terms of what you need to pay, is okay. But you settle up a contract with the vendor, and together with the vendor you go to a notary. So a car deal is done at the notary. So that you get the title and everything. And then it was, I think we needed to go several times to the notary, because then we needed to testify. We had to go to a kind of administration where the number plates and the special you know, each
Like
car
a
has an
VIN number? We
individual
call it a
number.
VIN number.
Exactly, but the identification number is being checked, that it's not stolen and it's not and that it's right. And then because if you want to go abroad, let's say to Brazil or to Bolivia with the car, you need this kind of a green, it's called green cedula. And then, of course, we needed to check for an insurance company, which took a bit of time as well. But this is really funny. I think it's like in Costa Rica, most of the conversations run and being done via WhatsApp, and then sometimes you even have speed. I'm not used to that in Germany, because the normal conversation you would have with a company or with a insurance guy would be on office, would be that you send an email or you have a phone call, or and then you set up the request, and then it takes a few days until something happens. But here, even with our telephone line, our internet line, you send a request, get a reception receipt via WhatsApp, and next in this case it was really literally next morning you stood in front of our door and say, where can we put things into operation and into action?
Wow.
So sometimes, and this is what I like about Paraguay, sometimes it's so quick that you cannot say, I cannot follow. And on the other hand, there's operations like buying a car, which needs a lot of paperwork, which needs to go away.
And then so therefore it's time, because each piece of paper takes time to
there
get.
once again, and so on and so on. Oh, then they don't tell you that this paper would have been needed as well. So you sometimes don't get complete information.
It's like, don't you do this for a living? Don't you know what documents you need? Why tell me just one? It's like, oh, and that one. Oh, and another. It's like, why don't you just say 1, 2, and 3? This is what I need.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That sometimes it's and so now we started asking for it as well, and some, is there anything else, or is there anybody else involved into something, and so this is really interesting. And what I would recommend as well to people is okay, there are a lot of, especially Germans, they come over and they don't really speak Spanish. So I must admit that my Spanish was not perfect when I came over, but at least I think I was able to organize myself, because I'm speaking, my French is, and then my English are quite fluent, and so I started Spanish to learn Spanish 1 year ago. Now it's exactly 502 days today when I started learning Spanish with Duolingo.
Okay.
And we have with our neighbor, we have since a few weeks, we have a Spanish teacher who comes to our apartment and to our house, and comes twice a week to accelerate the whole process, especially in speaking and conversation and everything. So this is what I find personally really, really good. And so we made a lot of success, and we really came a lot better with this one. But I think, as I said as well, it's like with the furniture or the stuff and everything, you need to decide for yourself with what you feel comfortable. But people should know, and this is your listeners should know, and you should know, it's really rare that people do speak English. Of course, a lot of expats, most of them speak English, and with our expats meeting, the general language we speak is English. But usually the man on the street,
the grocery store, the shops, the day-to-day, to have
they
some
speak
Spanish.
They speak Spanish, or they speak, even here in Paraguay, they speak a mixture of Guarani, which is the native, second official native language, and Spanish. And they have a bit of a funny accent. So when I went to Costa Rica a few weeks ago, I was amazed to listen to a Spanish which was much easier to understand for us. because Paraguay, they have really a big accent, and when they still were speaking behind those,
The mask. Mm-hmm.
mouse masks, so a big part of the information of seeing the mouth move.
It's amazing how much of a difference it makes.
Exactly. Yeah.
I never thought it really did until when we had to wear the mask, and I was in Spain, and my Spanish is terrible. But I was in Barcelona, so I was able to get away with it. But even with that bit, that was somebody was speaking Spanish, if they had a mask on, I was like, I don't know if they would take it off. And I'm like, oh, now I can, I'm getting it more. I'm understanding at least the basics of what, when with the mask on, I was thinking, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's really difficult. You get really, I would say it's more than half of the information, which is transferred by the mimic of the mouth. Yeah, and it was really, and so, yeah, it was really difficult.
I bet.
Yeah. So when they lifted the mask obligations, we were really,
it's like, wow, I know so much more all of a sudden.
Exactly. I do understand really better, and I can follow, and yeah, exactly.
So you haven't been there too long. It's been a little bit less than a year. Is there anything that you miss from Germany? Like other than friends and family, because of course everybody, we always miss our friends and family. But if we take out that aspect,
if we take out that, now, I must admit it's only a few little things, you know, which I then get either via Amazon US or Amazon Germany via their special services, because you cannot have items delivered directly to Paraguay. This is something we need to know, but there are special services, let's say, where you can be having sent it to a special place in Miami. You get a customer's ID, and then they send it in bulk from Miami to, let's say, Asuncion or in the area, and then you can collect it, and it costs $20 to $30 per kilogram. So it's only for lightweight items, you would say and recommend.
My thought on that, though, is it saves us money from buying stuff that we really don't need.
Exactly.
That's my thought. It's kind of mine, like, well, I don't really need most of that stuff, so it's okay if I can't get it delivered, because
exactly.
Really need it.
So you're really thinking about whether you need it. You know, there's some products, of course, I miss, as I'm a fan of the Forever Living aloe vera products, and here is only a part of the products available. Okay, the most important products are available, but they have a great drink. It's called Fab, and it's with guarana and aloe vera, and and they don't have it here. So, but I said, as you said, it's nice to have, but it's a luxury problem. And as I'm a fan of the homeopathic medicine, of course, this is something which is difficult to get. So I would need to order it in Germany as well, and then get it via, usually in this case, it's a ship as well, where a container is loaded by a lot of customers and clients, and it takes 2 months, 2 to 3 months, and then I get things here. So in this case, thankful, my brother in Germany currently collects items, because, you know, if something gets broken or you would need some spare parts or something, then you know, you get it, but it takes time. Yeah,
right.
And so this, what I can say, no, it's not really what I miss anything. Perhaps really a central heating system, like we are used to it, or especially in winter times. We had the in Germany, I was used in the last years with a heating system which runs with warm water on the floor, you know, this.
Oh yes, in-floor heating, so nice.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, this is something I would miss a bit, but as I said, perhaps, and there's some special, you know, like special what's the English word for it? It comes to my mind. Yeah, the special type of flour to prepare bread or anything.
Okay.
Yeah, but okay. Something when it comes to which we are quite used to it. a better quality of this flour. So now here you have real white flour, and usually I would prefer to have the full corn. And yes, in the meantime, I would say here, if you know where it's available, then you can get it. And it's sometimes you need, I would say 95% of all the items we would need there are available. And here in Paraguay, you only need to know where and at which price.
Right.
And or at which delays.
And so a lot of it's just adjusting then too. It's part of that adjusting and knowing, and that's where I am too with Montenegro. Is some things just aren't available, or it is, but it's knowing which store carries it and which specific one. And sometimes they're out and sometimes they're not. So it's a bit of a hit and miss, but not everything is available everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So then exactly the same situation. Yeah, exactly. And I would, if Paraguayan farmers would go more into the biological treatment of their activities, and it would be really helpful as well. But I would say sometimes I say to people, I feel here in Paraguay like in Germany, like in the end of the 60s, in the mid of the 17th, like a bit like this, but with internet and with the modern cars, so to say. So it feels a bit, it feels like a bit of
a little bit going back in time, but still a little bit modern at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
And but on the other hand, there's so much more. You have those now the mango time is coming up again in December.
I love fresh mango.
And you have all the and then you have all the pineapples and all the other different different
fresh fruits. It's fantastic.
Fruit. Yeah, that's really nice. Or even it's the first time that I ate a carambole, which is this star fruit.
Yes.
And which was really nice. Usually you find them on hotel buffets and they're just decoration. You just think, hey, what's this? And if you have a real ripe one, which just falls from the tree, you think, a carambole can taste like this.
Yes. It's like fresh mango. I miss having fresh mango in Costa Rica. It's my favorite fruit, and I'll still have it in other countries. And I'm like, it's not the same. Doesn't taste the same.
No, it's not the same. No. And the pineapple, Costa Rican pineapple, they are really nice as well. Yes, or the papayas.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. So one last question for you today. If they're just kind of on the fence, they're sort of wanting to move abroad, they're not quite sure, what is one piece of advice you would give them?
If they would not be sure, so if they are speaking German, so I can recommend, if they do speak German, then I would recommend the course I set up with my friend Amata, to say, before you set a foot onto a plane, listen to some of our experience and then decide for yourself if you want to go. Or then the next idea would go, have a trip over here, spend 2 weeks or 3 weeks, make sure that you perhaps have a meeting, especially in the time when there's expat meeting, that you meet with a lot of people. Especially it's easy when you speak German, but there are French groups as well, and there are German Stammtische as well. So make sure that you don't miss one of those ideas, and then exchange ideas, get along, open your eyes, open your ears, and then decide for yourself. And give yourself a lot of, let's say, a kind of experience period. So like when you start a new job, and and then decide for yourself. And there's a lot of people who decided for themselves. I know a few, and then after some months they said, oh, it's boring, or I miss my friends, or whatever. And so there's sometimes I read that people are going back, or what I learned from many others, they had been here since quite a few years. And then one of the partners died, and they said, oh, I'm quite alone. And then they returned to Europe or to Germany as well. But as I said, it's not one of the first removals, and
Right.
nothing is perhaps for eternity. So
Right. And I mean,
situations
I've been
change.
to a few different countries. I'm nothing that,
Yes,
and it's not because I disliked them or hated them. I was just ready for something new and a new adventure someplace different. So I always say to people, if you go, you're not stuck there.
exactly.
You can always leave if you really don't
Yeah,
like
it's
it,
not a,
but do some research, get to know, because
yeah,
there's an expense and there is time,
yeah,
and you need to put in time, because there's a big learning curve no matter where
yeah.
we live in the world. So we need to put in that true time, and then if we really dislike it after we've made that effort, we can always go somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. We are not in a prison, and
That's
this is the
right.
beauty about it. But yeah, keep in
Right.
mind, it's effort, it's money, it's energy, and before before you pack your suitcase or your bags or your let's say your crates or boxes into your container or
Mhm.
not, because then you've perhaps not regret it and say 3 years, yeah, oh yes, the wardrobe which I inherited from my, I would say, grandparents, I should not have sold it. Okay, I
Right.
think you would perhaps need to
Mhm.
think about it upfront. Yeah.
That's right. Well, thank you very much for your time, Sonja, and sharing your experience with us. I'm sure it's been very helpful for our listeners, especially with thinking about purchasing a home, buying a vehicle, all of those types of things. So again, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, more than welcome. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and thank you very much for your invitation. And whenever, somebody has wants to know something, can send me, I guess, a personal message via you.
Perfect. And we'll link to your course and everything in the show notes below, so people will have all those links.
So very much. Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye.